The emergency alert siren cut through the midnight silence, jolting Commander Elena Reyes from a dreamless sleep. Her neural implant flashed urgent red notifications across her vision before she could even reach for the light. Outside her quarters, boots thundered down metal corridors. "Status report," she demanded, voice still thick with sleep as she pressed her palm against the biometric panel. The wall screen illuminated, filling her Spartan quarters with harsh blue light. General Hammond's weathered face appeared, his expression grim. "Commander, Horizon Colony has gone dark. Complete communications blackout approximately 23 minutes ago. Last transmission indicated an unidentified vessel breaching planetary defense systems." Elena's blood ran cold. Horizon was home to nearly 2 million colonists, including her sister's family. "Satellite imagery?" she asked, already pulling on her uniform. "Coming through now." The screen shifted to a satellite feed of what had once been humanity's most prosperous outer colony. Where Horizon's gleaming capital city should have stood, there was now only a perfectly circular crater, surrounded by shockwaves of destruction rippling outward. The colony's northern hemisphere was obscured by massive dust clouds. "My God," Elena whispered. "Casualties?" "Unknown, but preliminary estimates suggest at least 70% of the population. The rest?" Hammond's voice faltered. "The rest won't survive the ecological collapse." Elena closed her eyes for 3 seconds, the only moment of grief she would allow herself. When she opened them, all emotion had been locked away. "I'll be on the command deck in 5 minutes. Initiate Protocol Nemesis." Hammond's face paled. "Commander, Protocol Nemesis has never been, they just wiped one of our cities off the map, General. We're going to return the favor with interest." Dr. Marcus Chen stared at the alien object floating in the containment field, its surface an impossible obsidian that seemed to devour light rather than reflect it. His team had recovered it from the debris field surrounding Horizon's moon 2 days after the attack. Roughly cylindrical and approximately 30 centimeters long, its purpose remained a mystery despite all their scans and tests. "Anything?" Commander Reyes asked from behind him. Marcus flinched. He hadn't heard her enter the lab. "Nothing conclusive, Commander. Whatever it's made of, it's unlike any material we've ever encountered. It absorbs all forms of radiation we've subjected it to, and our most advanced imaging techniques can't penetrate its surface." He gestured to the monitors displaying a series of failed scan attempts. "It's as if it exists, partially outside our physical laws." Elena approached the containment field, eyes narrowed. "Is it a weapon?" "We don't think so, at least not directly. Our working theory is that it's some kind of advanced data storage device, possibly ejected from the aggressor vessel before it jumped out system." "Have you tried the quantum resonance scanner?" Marcus nodded. "First thing. That's how we discovered this." He tapped a command into his console, and a holographic display appeared above the object, a complex, swirling pattern of light that pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. "What am I looking at?" "We're not entirely sure. It appears to be some form of encoded information, but it doesn't match any known data structure. Dr. Kapoor thinks it might be coordinates." Elena's gaze sharpened. "Coordinates? To what?" "To wherever they came from." 3 weeks later, the UEC battlecruiser Retribution emerged from the void, jump 50 million kilometers from an uncharted star system. Elena stood on the command deck, surrounded by nervous officers. The screen before them displayed a yellow-orange star orbited by 7 planets. The third was a blue-green jewel suspiciously similar to Earth. "Life signs?" Elena asked. "Confirmed, Commander," replied Lieutenant Zhou, her voice tight. "The third planet shows extensive biosphere activity and artificial structures. We're detecting thousands of settlement clusters across all continents, orbital installations, and significant space traffic." "An advanced civilization," Elena murmured. "Transmission capabilities?" "Yes, ma'am. We're picking up what appears to be their communications network. It's extensive." Elena turned to Dr. Chen. "Are you certain this is them? The ones who attacked Horizon?" Marcus nodded, though his expression revealed his discomfort. "The quantum signature from the artifact matches the technology we're detecting in this system." It's them. Commander, General Hammond interjected, we should consider diplomatic. They didn't attempt diplomacy when they obliterated 2 million people, Elena cut him off. They made first contact with an act of genocide. We're not here to talk. She turned to the weapons officer. Prepare the Thanatos Device. Target their largest population center. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Commander, Marcus said quietly, we don't know why they attacked. There could have been a misunderstanding, or a misunderstanding. Elena's voice was ice. Was the crater where my sister's house stood a misunderstanding, Doctor? No one spoke. Launch in 30 minutes. I want to broadcast a message to their global network first. Let them know exactly why this is happening. In the privacy of her quarters, Elena stared at the alien world on her screen. She thought of her sister Marina, who had moved to Horizon 5 years ago with her husband and 2 children. Their weekly calls. The birthday gifts sent across light years. All gone now, reduced to atoms in an instant of incomprehensible violence, her door chimed. Enter. Marcus Chen stepped inside, looking troubled. Commander, there's something you need to see. I've made my decision, Doctor. Please. 5 minutes. She sighed. 5 minutes. Marcus placed a data pad on her desk. Our linguistics team has been analyzing their communications. We've managed to decode some of their recent transmissions, and, well, look at this. Elena glanced down at the screen. It showed what appeared to be an alien news broadcast. Though the beings on screen were humanoid, their features were distinctly non-human: iridescent skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and elaborate cranial structures that might have been ornamental or functional. What am I looking at? This is from 6 standard weeks ago. Before the Horizon attack. They're discussing a catastrophic event on one of their colonies. Marcus tapped the screen, bringing up an image that made Elena's breath catch. A perfectly circular crater, surrounded by shockwaves of destruction. This can't be, she whispered. There's more. Marcus swiped to another screen. This is from their military archives. We found references to an unidentified vessel that appeared near their colony without warning. When it didn't respond to communications, they sent a patrol to investigate. The patrol never returned, and 12 hours later, this happened. Elena felt a cold dread settling in her stomach. Are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that whatever destroyed Horizon might have destroyed their colony first. That what we interpreted as an unprovoked attack might have been retaliation for something they believe we did. That's impossible. We've never encountered this species before. Maybe not knowingly. Marcus hesitated. Commander, before you give the order to deploy the Thanatos device, I think we need to consider the possibility that we're being manipulated. That something else is pitting us against each other. The alien artifact sat in its containment field, silent and inscrutable. Elena stared at it, trying to see beyond its light-devouring surface. You think this thing is more than just a data storage device, she said. Marcus nodded. After analyzing the quantum resonance patterns more thoroughly, I've detected something disturbing. The patterns aren't static. They're subtly changing, adapting to our scans. It's active. Even in containment. I believe it's been active all along. And I don't think it's just storing data, I think it's transmitting. Elena's hand moved instinctively to her sidearm. To whom? Before Marcus could answer, Lieutenant Zhou's voice came over the comm. Commander, they're detecting multiple energy signatures approaching from the outer system. They match the profile of the vessel that attacked Horizon. Elena's mind raced. How many? 7, no, 9 vessels. Larger than anything in the alien fleet we've observed so far. Elena looked at the artifact, then back to Marcus. It led them to us. Just like it led us to them. Commander, Zhou's voice came again, more urgent now. We're also detecting unusual activity from the alien homeworld. They're mobilizing their fleet. Elena made her decision. General Hammond, maintain our position but power down all offensive systems. Dr. Chen, I want that artifact ejected into space immediately. Lieutenant Zhou, open a channel to the alien planet. We need to attempt communication before this escalates further. Hammond's face appeared on her screen. Commander, with all due respect, we came here for retribution. These are the people who destroyed Horizon. Maybe. Or maybe they think we destroyed their colony. Elena's gaze hardened. I'm not going to risk starting an interstellar war until I know what we're really dealing with. The artifact tumbled slowly through space, a mote of impossible darkness against the starfield. Elena watched it from the observation deck, Marcus at her side. How long until the alien fleet reaches our position? She asked. 4 hours at their current velocity, Marcus replied. And the homeworld vessels will intercept about 30 minutes after that. Then we have 4 hours to prevent mutual annihilation. She turned to face him. Tell me your theory, Doctor. All of it. Marcus took a deep breath. I believe we're dealing with an intelligence that feeds on conflict. Perhaps even on the energy released during planetary scale destruction. The artifact isn't just a tool, it's a seed or a spore. A parasite, Elena murmured. Exactly. It manipulates technologically advanced species into destroying each other, harvesting the energy released. The quantum resonance patterns we detected? They're not just data, they're a form of consciousness. And by bringing it aboard, we allowed it to influence us. Marcus nodded grimly. The compulsion to retaliate, the certainty that these aliens were responsible. I felt it too. An overwhelming emotional response that bypassed rational thought. Elena stared out at the distant sun. So while we're preparing to destroy their world, they're likely planning to do the same to Earth. All orchestrated by whatever intelligence is behind that artifact. Yes. And I suspect it's happened before. Many times. A terrible thought occurred to Elena. Doctor, if that thing is transmitting. What did we just release into open space? Before Marcus could answer, a brilliant flash of light erupted from where the artifact had been. When their eyes adjusted, a swirling vortex of energy had appeared, a tear in the fabric of space itself. Commander, Zhou's voice came over the comm, tight with fear, we're detecting an enormous mass emerging from that anomaly. The entity that emerged from the rift defied comprehension. It seemed to exist in more dimensions than human senses could perceive, appearing as a constantly shifting lattice of darkness interwoven with blinding light. Where it passed, space itself distorted. On the command deck, Elena watched in horror as the 9 approaching vessels, the ones they had believed belonged to the alien aggressors, changed course to intercept the entity. What are they doing? Hammond whispered. The answer came moments later as the vessels fired upon the entity, not with conventional weapons, but with beams of coherent energy that seemed designed to contain rather than destroy. They're not alien warships, Elena realized. They're sentinels. The entity lashed out, tendrils of impossible geometry slicing through 3 of the sentinel vessels, which exploded in silent bursts of light. The remaining ships continued their assault, trying to drive the entity back toward the rift. Elena turned to her communications officer. Any response from the planet? Yes, Commander. They're transmitting in multiple formats, attempting to establish contact. Our AI is working on translation. Put it through as soon as you have something. Marcus studied the sensor readings, his face pale. The entity is generating the same quantum resonance pattern as the artifact, but exponentially more powerful. And look, he pointed to a secondary display showing the alien homeworld. There's another rift forming in their atmosphere. Elena made her decision. General Hammond, set course to intercept the entity. Lieutenant Zhou, divert power from the Thanatos device to the main deflector array. We're going to try something. Commander, Hammond protested, our orders were to neutralize the threat to Earth. And that's exactly what I intend to do, General. Elena's gaze was steady. The real threat was never these aliens. It was what manipulated us into fighting each other. The Retribution moved into position alongside the remaining Sentinel vessels. Up close, Elena could see that their design was eerily similar to human ships, not identical, but as if both species had been guided along similar technological paths. Translation complete, announced the communications officer. Connecting to Alien Command. The main screen flickered, and Elena found herself looking at one of the 4-eyed beings. Its iridescent skin shimmered with patterns that seemed to convey emotion. "I am Commander Reyes of the United Earth Confederation," she said, hoping the translation would convey her intent. "We believe we have both been manipulated by the entity that emerged from the rift." After a moment's delay, the alien responded, its words converted to English by the ship's AI. "I am High Marshal Kearvash of the Luminary Concord. We have encountered these parasites before. They seed their artifacts on developing worlds, then harvest the energy released when those worlds destroy each other. The colony that was destroyed, it wasn't us. Just as we did not attack your world," Kearvash replied. "The parasite used our grief and rage to blind us, as it did you." Elena felt a weight lifting from her chest, immediately replaced by the burden of what they now faced. "Your sentinel vessels are trying to force it back through the rift?" "Yes, but we are failing. A second breach has formed in our atmosphere. We have little time." Marcus leaned into the frame. "Commander, I have an idea. The Thanatos Device, if we modified it to generate a quantum resonance field that matches the entity's pattern but in opposing phase. We could disrupt its cohesion," Elena finished. "But at this range, we'd be caught in the effect." "Not if we use both ships," Kearvash interjected. "A coordinated attack from opposite sides of the entity." Elena nodded. "Begin modifications immediately. We'll coordinate with the luminary vessels." As the crew rushed to implement the plan, Elena turned to Marcus. "If this works, we'll have made first contact in the most unusual way possible. And if it doesn't?" She smiled grimly. "Then at least we die fighting the real enemy, not each other." The modified Thanatos device hummed with power as the Retribution maneuvered into position. On the main screen, Elena could see the luminary flagship doing the same on the opposite side of the writhing entity. "Device charged to maximum capacity," reported the weapons officer. "Awaiting your command." "High Marshal Kearvash," Elena called, "we're ready on our end." "As are we, Commander Reyes. May fortune favor us both." Elena took a deep breath. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Fire." Twin beams of coruscating energy lanced out from the human and luminary vessels, striking the entity simultaneously. Where they touched its shifting form, the entity's substance seemed to unravel, patterns of light and darkness dissolving into chaotic swirls. The entity thrashed, sending out shockwaves that buffeted the ships. Warning alarms blared across the command deck as systems overloaded. A support beam crashed down behind Elena, narrowly missing General Hammond. "Maintain fire," Elena ordered, gripping her console as the deck shuddered beneath her. "Divert emergency power to the deflector array." On screen, one of the remaining Sentinel vessels exploded as a tendril of darkness sliced through its hull. Another spun away, crippled. The luminary flagship held position, though Elena could see fires erupting across its surface. "Commander," Zhou shouted over the alarms, "structural integrity is failing. We can't sustain this output much longer." Elena watched as the entity began to collapse in on itself, its impossible geometry folding and twisting. Just a little longer. With a final, violent convulsion, the entity imploded. A blinding flash of light washed over the command deck, and then, silence. Where the entity had been, only empty space remained. The rift collapsed with a final pulse of energy that sent the Retribution tumbling. "Status report," Elena called as emergency lights flickered on. "Multiple systems damaged or offline," Zhou reported. "Life support at 60% capacity. Weapons systems inoperative." "And the Thanatos device?" "Completely burnt out, Commander. It's just slag now." Elena nodded, feeling a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. "Open a channel to the luminary flagship." After a moment, Kearvash's face appeared, his ship's interior similarly battle-damaged. "Commander Reyes. It seems we have survived. For now. The entity? Our sensors show no trace of it. The breach in our atmosphere has also closed." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Then perhaps we should discuss proper first contact protocols, High Marshal. Without the influence of parasitic entities." Kearvash's skin shimmered with what Elena hoped was amusement. "Indeed. Though I believe we have already established the most important protocol: not destroying each other's civilizations. 6 months later, Elena stood in the newly constructed memorial garden on what remained of Horizon Colony. Terraforming efforts were underway, but it would be decades before the planet fully recovered. Before her rose a monument, a joint human and luminary creation commemorating the victims of what was now called the parasite deception. Marcus approached, holding a data pad. The luminary scientists have completed their analysis of the fragments we recovered. It's fascinating. The parasites appear to be artificial constructs, not biological entities. Created by whom? That's the unsettling part. The technology is millions of years old. Whatever civilization built them is long gone, possibly destroyed by their own creation. Elena gazed up at the monument, where the names of the human and luminary victims were engraved side by side. How many other civilizations have destroyed each other because of these things? How many more would have if we hadn't discovered the truth? The luminaries have already dispatched scout vessels to nearby star clusters to search for more artifacts. We're sending our own. Good. Elena placed a small hologram of her sister's family at the base of the monument. Have you looked at the joint defense proposal? Marcus nodded. It's ambitious. A network of sentinel stations throughout both our territories, designed to detect and contain these entities. The quantum resonance technology we developed has been refined. It should be much more effective now. And the communication relays? Nearly complete. Real-time communication between Earth and the luminary homeworld. Marcus smiled slightly. Cultural exchange programs are already oversubscribed. Elena touched the cool surface of the monument. When I gave the order to prepare the Thanatos device, I was so certain. So righteously angry. I never questioned whether we were being manipulated. None of us did. That was the parasite's power. It bypassed rational thought, amplified our darkest impulses. And yet, in trying to destroy us, it brought our civilizations together. Elena turned to look at the distant horizon, where the setting sun cast long shadows across the scarred landscape. We nearly wiped their civilization off the map. They nearly did the same to us. Instead, we saved each other. As twilight descended on the wounded planet, the monument began to glow with a soft, blue-green light, the same shade as the luminescent patterns on Karvash's skin. A reminder that even in the darkest voids between stars, intelligence could recognize intelligence, and choose understanding over annihilation. That in the deepest reaches of space, far beyond the borders of human or luminary territory, an obsidian artifact tumbled through the void, waiting for someone to find it.